Quinn's return came like a thunderclap in the quiet halls of Forrester Creations, her silhouette framed by the late afternoon sun slanting through the arched doorway. The polished marble floors reflected her every step as she carried herself with a fragile confidence, a stranger's poise masking something deeper. Carter, who had spent the last months nursing wounds far more painful than any scar, stood rooted to the spot, heart hammering against his ribs in a rhythm he remembered all too well. Quinn's eyes, once soft and warm, now held a distant sheen, as if someone else lived behind them. She lifted a small leather-bound folder, its edges worn, and her voice trembled when she spoke. "I'm not Quinn. I'm Vivian." Shock crashed through the assembled circle. Ridge's jaw clenched, Eric's hand twitched, and Carter's breath hitched. Vivian claimed she was the twin sister Quinn never knew existed, abandoned at birth, hidden away by secrets so old that even the Forrester patriarch's memory seemed to quiver at the revelation. She produced faded adoption papers, each line stamped in Eric's unmistakable handwriting from 35 years ago, and handed them to Ridge with a trembling certainty. Ridge stared at the documents, then at his father, whose face went pale as if he'd glimpsed his own reflection in a broken mirror. Carter's world tilted on its axis. He had braced himself for a confrontation with Quinn, the woman who walked away without goodbye, leaving behind unanswered questions and a broken promise. He had flooded his therapist's office with confessions of longing and regret, convinced he'd lost the one person who understood him. Yet here was Vivian, claiming a name that didn't fit the memories etched in Carter's mind. Memories of late-night talks, of shared laughter over burnt coffee, of fingers brushing in the dark and lingering looks that spoke volumes. He wanted to reach out, to trace that familiar curve of her cheek, to reclaim the warmth he thought he'd lost forever. But Vivian's hands shook as she clutched the legal papers, and every gesture he recognized clashed with the stranger she pretended to be. Her voice cracked when she recounted a childhood in shadow, a life of foster homes and unanswered letters. Carter's chest tightened as he fought to reconcile the woman before him with the wife he thought he knew. Meanwhile, Ridge had already put everything in motion. He had summoned a private genealogist, a specialist in unspooling tangled family trees, someone whose reputation for discretion eclipsed even the most prestigious detectives in Los Angeles. The genealogist's report arrived under Ridge's seal, hand-stamped adoption records bearing Eric's inked signature, witness to a secret he'd taken to his grave. Ridge read and reread the files in his office, the harsh fluorescent lights casting long shadows over his slumped shoulders. The paperwork suggested more than a lost child. It hinted at a scandal that could invalidate Eric and Quinn's marriage, tear through the Forrester legacy, and reroute half of Eric's empire into the hands of this Vivian. The very thought made Ridge's stomach churn. He pictured the shareholder meetings, the whispered corridors of Wall Street, the boardroom tables where deals were sealed on a handshake and a smile. If Vivian truly was Eric's daughter, legitimate by blood and law, the future of Forrester Creations trembled on a knife's edge. At the Forrester mansion, Carter cornered Eric in the den, the walls lined with decades of family portraits. Eric's eyes narrowed as he studied Carter's face, searching for a clue in his friend's expression. Carter placed a steadying hand on Eric's shoulder. "Do you believe her?" he asked quietly. Eric's gaze flickered to the portrait of Quinn in a younger, softer era. The lines of her face were familiar, the curve of her smile memory incarnate. Yet the woman who had walked back into his life claimed to be someone else entirely. "DNA doesn't lie," Eric murmured, voice thick. But Carter shook his head. "It isn't just about the DNA. It's about why she's here and what she's willing to do to take your legacy." Downstairs in the grand foyer, Quinn, no Vivian, addressed a gathering of stunned employees, the hum of the city beyond the windows muted by the weight of her confession. She spoke of betrayal and abandonment, of nights spent tracing the name Forrester in the telephone directory, of the ache of not knowing her true identity. Every word landed like a stone on the polished marble beneath her feet. Across the room, Ridge watched her with narrowed eyes, measuring the tremor in her voice against the steel in her gaze. He remembered Quinn's warmth, the fire in her laugh, the fearless loyalty that had earned her Eric's trust. Could Vivian have inherited that passion? Or was she a masterful actor, weaving a story designed to pull at their sympathies, to wrest half the Forrester fortune from his father's fading grip? Carter drifted toward Ridge and Eric, his mind racing back to the night Quinn had vanished. She'd been agitated, whispering about mistakes too dangerous to risk exposing. He'd begged her to tell him, but she'd kissed him with desperate intensity, promising she'd return. And she hadn't. Now Vivian claimed Quinn had walked away after retrieving evidence of her existence. Carter's chest ached remembering the echo of her footsteps in the empty hallway. He wanted to scream for the truth, for Quinn to shatter the falsehood and return to him. But Vivian's eyes, so like Quinn's, glistened with tears as she spoke of shattered hopes and a lifetime of questions. Carter's fists clenched at his sides as he fought to believe the woman in front of him, or to reject her outright. In the library, Eric found himself face-to-face with Vivian for the first time alone. She held out a weathered photograph of two tiny infants swaddled side by side, then pointed to one marked Q and the other V. He looked up at her, searching for remorse or deceit in her expression. The lines around her eyes deepened as she whispered, "I never wanted to hurt anyone. I just wanted my family." Eric's heart wrenched at the vulnerability in her voice, the confession of a lifetime spent in shadow. Memories of Quinn saving his life at Monaco, of her hands pressed against his chest, of her warm breath in his ear, flooded through him. If Vivian truly was that same woman, twisted by secrets and a life spent longing, could the bond they'd shared still hold? Even as Eric reached out a hand to touch her cheek, Ridge's words echoed in his mind. DNA isn't final verdict, motives matter. In the hallway outside, Ridge confronted the genealogist over the phone, demanding every shred of evidence. The genealogist's voice crackled with urgency as she confirmed the authenticity of the stamps and Eric's signature, but admitted she couldn't verify the truth of the claims without a full genetic analysis. Ridge slammed the phone down and strode into the foyer, summoning everyone to gather. He leveled a steely gaze at Vivian and declared that until definitive proof emerged, no legal decision would be made. The Forrester name, he warned, could not be dragged through scandal without ironclad certainty. Vivian nodded, tears brimming, and Carter felt a surge of protectiveness for the woman he loved, or the imposter he feared. He placed a gentle hand on her arm and whispered, "We'll get to the bottom of this." Ridge swept past them, his mind already racing ahead to lawyers and DNA labs, to the possible fallout on stock prices and board votes. And Eric, caught between the memory of a life saved and the logic of legal documents, realized that the coming days would test every bond he'd ever made. The question hung in the air like a specter. When the final DNA results arrived, would they confirm Vivian's claim to blood and name, or unravel it completely? In that moment, every gesture, every glance, every confession took on new weight. The truth was more than science. It was a question of trust, of love, of legacy. DNA might point the way, but only motive would deliver justice. The Bold and the Beautiful, a tale of love, heartache, and fate *** in the world of soap operas. Few shows have captured the intricate web of relationships and emotions quite like The Bold and the Beautiful. For decades, this series has enthralled audiences with its dramatic twists and intense character dynamics. Among the many couples and conflicts that have defined the show, one relationship stands out above the rest: the tumultuous and passionate bond between Ridge Forrester and Brooke Logan. Their saga has been filled with love, betrayal, heartbreak, and redemption, and it seems that their story is far from over. The latest twist in their saga, however, is nothing short of breathtaking and life-altering. At the center of this current narrative lies a pivotal moment that will change everything for Ridge, Brooke, and everyone around them. Ridge Forrester, ever the hero in times of crisis, has once again found himself in a life-or-death situation. This time, however, it is not just another business deal gone wrong or a family disagreement. It is a literal fight for survival, and the stakes could not be higher. In a moment of bravery, Ridge saves Brooke Logan from certain death, but in doing so, he inadvertently sets in motion a chain of events that will force him to confront his past, his present, and his future with the woman who has always held his heart. Brooke Logan, the stunning and fearless woman who has been the object of Ridge's affections for decades, has never been one to shy away from danger. Her daring nature has often been the source of tension in her relationships, particularly with Ridge. She is a woman of extremes. She loves deeply, she acts impulsively, and she lives life on her own terms. Her choices have often led to trouble, but it is this same boldness that has made her so irresistible to Ridge. This time, however, her reckless behavior leads to a near-fatal accident that could have ended her life. Nick Marone, always the protective and somewhat obsessive figure in Brooke's life, has never been one to sit idly by when Brooke is in danger. His love for her is fierce, and his determination to win her heart has led him to take drastic measures. In this latest development, Nick's actions, driven by his desire to keep Brooke safe and close, cause a disaster that none of them could have anticipated. As captain of a boat, Nick's attempts to navigate through a treacherous situation end in chaos. The boat's steering wheel fails, sending it dangerously close to colliding with another vessel. Nick manages to steer clear of the collision, but not before he is thrown from the boat, hitting his head in the process. Brooke, in the midst of the chaos, is flung into the sea, and it is only through Ridge's quick thinking and heroic actions that she is saved from drowning. This dramatic moment marks the beginning of a new chapter in the lives of Ridge and Brooke. In the aftermath of the rescue, Ridge is left to grapple with his emotions. He has always been conflicted about his feelings for Brooke. He loves her, but he also knows that her impulsiveness and unpredictable nature have caused him immense pain in the past. Their relationship has been a roller coaster ride of passion and heartbreak, and the question on everyone's mind is whether this latest brush with death will be enough to bring them back together for good. For Ridge, the decision to get engaged to Taylor Hayes earlier in the year was a clear indication that he had moved on from Brooke. Taylor had become his anchor, the one person who could provide him with the stability and calm that he so desperately needed. In many ways, Ridge viewed Taylor as the opposite of Brooke, grounded, reliable, and dependable. Taylor had always been there for Ridge, supporting him through the many trials and tribulations of his life. In his mind, Taylor represented a future that was safe and secure, while Brooke was a constant source of chaos and uncertainty. Yet, despite his engagement to Taylor, Ridge cannot deny the pull he feels toward Brooke. The history between them is undeniable. They have been married and divorced 8 times, and every time they have parted ways, they have always found their way back to each other. The emotional bond they share is deeper than any other, and even Ridge's logical side cannot ignore it. His recent actions, including the life-saving rescue, are a testament to the depth of his feelings for Brooke. But as he begins to reflect on their past, Ridge is left questioning whether he can truly make things work with her again. Brooke, on the other hand, has always believed in fate. She has never given up on the idea that she and Ridge are destined to be together. Despite the many obstacles that have stood in their way, she has always held on to the belief that their love is unbreakable. Her faith in their bond is unwavering, even as she sees Ridge's commitment to Taylor. But now, with Ridge back in her life, and with the memory of their shared past flooding back, Brooke must decide whether she is willing to risk her heart once again. The setting of their reunion adds an extra layer of emotion to the story. The breathtaking beauty of Italy serves as the backdrop for this pivotal moment in their relationship. The romantic setting of the Italian countryside evokes memories of their past, reminding them both of the love they once shared. It is here, in this idyllic location, that Ridge and Brooke are forced to confront their feelings for each other once again. The nostalgia of their shared history cannot be denied, and as the tension between them grows, it becomes clear that their love story is far from over. However, as Ridge and Brooke's relationship begins to rekindle, the fallout from their actions begins to take its toll on those around them. Taylor, still reeling from her engagement to Ridge and the emotional wounds caused by his behavior, is left heartbroken once again. Her trust in Ridge has been shattered, and she must now come to terms with the reality that the man she thought she would marry may never truly be hers. The emotional damage caused by Ridge's back and forth between Brooke and Taylor is not something that can be easily repaired. Taylor's heartbreak is palpable, and it is clear that her emotional well-being is in jeopardy. Despite this, Taylor remains committed to Ridge, even as she begins to question whether their relationship can survive his deep-rooted connection to Brooke. She has always been there for him, supporting him through thick and thin, but now she is left wondering if it is time to let go. The pain of watching Ridge's love for Brooke resurface is almost too much to bear, and it becomes evident that Taylor's heart may be broken beyond repair. In the midst of this turmoil, Nick Marone, ever the protector, steps in once again. He is determined to protect Brooke from the heartbreak that Ridge may cause her. Nick's love for Brooke is steadfast, and he refuses to let her fall victim to the chaos that seems to follow Ridge wherever he goes. His determination to keep Brooke safe from harm leads him to take drastic measures, even as he realizes that his own feelings for her may never truly be reciprocated. His pursuit of Brooke, although born out of love, may only serve to complicate the already tangled web of relationships. As the summer unfolds, the drama intensifies. The emotional roller coaster that has defined Ridge, Brooke, Taylor, and Nick's relationships is far from over. Each character must confront their deepest fears, desires, and regrets as they navigate the turbulent waters of love, loyalty, and betrayal. Will Ridge and Brooke finally find their way back to each other, or will their love be doomed to repeat its painful cycles of heartbreak? Will Taylor find a way to heal her shattered heart, or will she be forced to walk away from the man she thought was her future? And will Nick ever be able to truly let go of his feelings for Brooke? As the answers to these questions unfold, one thing is certain. The drama, passion, and intensity of the bold and the beautiful will continue to captivate audiences, leaving them eagerly anticipating the next twist in the ever-complicated lives of these unforgettable characters. The saga of Ridge, Brooke, Taylor, and Nick is far from over, and with each new episode, the stakes grow higher. The path to true love is never easy, and for these characters, the journey is anything but predictable.